we're looking for price to break, the previous swing point. So we had a prior swing low, right? And then we're waiting for price to break it. So rule number one, this price needs to break. And remember, this is written for a long setup, so we're going to reverse everything for this short setup. So price needs to break, the swing point by at least 2 Renko bars. So there we got 1, and that's 2, and this one actually breaks it by 3 and 4 Renko bars. And also what's missing here is a maximum number of bars, right? So there needs to be some kind of maximum number of bars here as well. You need to set some kind of limit here, because, really, if you get a swing low, how long is it still acceptable, for price to just kind of whatever, consolidate around before it breaks it? Most likely, maybe that's not going to be a problem, but, usually when you're considering, coming up with trading rules, maybe visually you understand when a setup is no longer valid, but, but you need to tell a computer when something is no longer valid. So usually when you're looking for various conditions, typically you will also need to come up with like a maximum number of bars that the condition is valid for. Like here, we have a swing low, but then that swing low basically disappears on us. So, in this particular case, if the swing low, changes, from one point to another point, that could be, that's obviously would be one thing that would invalidate, rule number 1. So something to consider. We'll as we build this system, we'll find out soon enough, whether we need to set like a maximum number of bars, that a swing low would be valid for. So, and then part number 2, price needs to pull back to within 1 Renko bar, and this is basically 1 Renko bar short of the swing line, or no more than 2 bars past. Again, this is written for a long setup, so it says no more than 2 bars below. So let's see here. Let me go back. So here's an example of basically, price pulling back within 1 Renko bar above, right? So we had price breaking the swing high. So it broke it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars, and then it pulls back, and it doesn't touch it, right? But it comes within that 1 bar distance, right? So it's coming within that 1 Renko bar, being above the line. So that right there qualifies. And then let's see if I have another example here. No, I don't have any examples of breaking past the swing line by 2 bars. So I don't have an example, but yeah, on this short here, we can see that this bar, right, it breaks the swing low by 1 bar. And so if it does it by another bar, that's okay. That's acceptable. All right, and then, and then the signal is generated, right, when basically the Renko reverses direction, right? Basically the close of the next Renko bar, closing above. So in other words, we need the Renko bar to reverse direction and close on the other side of the swing line. So basically this bar here would be our signal bar right there. So basically that reversal bar, and it closed right below the swing low. Okay, well, with that, let's get things started here. Actually, I guess I need to expand this up, open a little bit here so I can see my BloodHound button there. All right, so let's open up BloodHound and hit the change button. All right, and let me put in a file name. And there we go. So today's the 2nd. And boy, this whole Coronavirus sure put the squash on April Fool's Day, didn't it? All right, so today's the 2nd. And I'm going to switch over to the logic tab here so we can start working on the logic board. And let's hit new, hit the new button. So that creates a new logic template for us. And we need to give this some kind of a name here. All right, there we go. We'll just call it something like that, right? So basically this is kind of a Renko bar swing line break, right? Renko bar, that's it. It's a swing line break, and, or let's say break with a pullback. There you go. A little more complete name there. Right, well, let's start with some simple things here. All right, so the simplest condition here, right? Basically, rule number 1 is wrong line. I wanted an arrow. There we go. So yeah, a simple thing is detecting that crossover, right? So we're looking for price to cross over the swing line. So let's just grab a crossover solver to basically get, you know, everything started. So all right, so let's name this here. All right, so input A, that's going to be the closing price of the bar, right? The closing price. So we're going to change input A, change the type to price right there. Change it to price. And the closing price is already selected for us. And now input B, that will be our swing indicator. And just to note, so Richard was using slightly different settings here for the swings, highs, low. Right, so this is the swings, highs, lows indicator there. And so he's using a number of swings of 2. So here, let's just go ahead and open this up, I guess, so everybody can take a look. All right, so the swings, highs, and lows, and so the number of swings is 2, and the strength is 8. So he did adjust the settings here a little bit. All right, so all right, so we need to use those same settings inside of BloodHound here. So input B, let's go change our indicator. And so we're going to open up the Shark Indicators folder, and there's the swings, highs, and lows. There we go. And so now we need to just adjust the settings here. So the number of swings was 2, and the strength was set to 8. All right. Next, we need to figure out what plots are we going to use for what. So we're using the swing lows to generate a short signal. So that's going to be the widest bottoms, right? And then the widest top is going to be the swing high for long signals, right? So the widest tops for long signals, the widest bottoms for the short signals, right? So this red dashed line here, that is the widest bottoms plot. All right, and there we go. So there are some crossover signals. Great. So you know, the second one, that's going to have to be ignored. You know, what we need from this is we need the first one here, right? The second one will basically be ignored because rule number 2, you know, says that price can pull back to within 1 Renko bar, you know, just before, right? So 1 Renko bar before qualifies. So in other words, we may not always get this crossover. So we're just going to ignore this second crossover signal there. That's all right. So the next thing we need to do is make sure that we get at least, right? So we need price to break at least by 2 Renko bars. So let's see here. Let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this look back period and set it to 2, right? So what that's doing is, there we go. So we can see that's counting 2 bars past, right, the crossover here. And to make sure that we have at least 2 bars, I'm also going to grab a bar direction solver. So let's connect that up. And so with the bar direction solver, right? I need a number of bars of 2, like so. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking this. Yeah, well, it's not gonna be. Yeah, it's not quite gonna be that simple, will it? No, it's not. Actually, I'm gonna put this bar direction solver to the side. Let's see. I'm gonna grab a look back node. Actually, yeah, this is gonna be. Yeah, this is gonna be what I want. A look back node here. And with the look back node, I'm going to set the displacement to 0 and the look back period to 2. And then the mode is I want a minimum of 2. There we go. Yeah, that'll work. Now, we're not going to be able to tell if it works, you know, looking at it from this point, because we have 2 bars, you know, breaking past the swing line there. So we're going to have to look back on the chart here, take a look at some other areas. But ultimately what we need to do is grab an AND node, and we're going to combine these 2 signals. Let's see, actually, no, hold on, let me just take a look back here. So I need to find a spot where price only broke the swing line by 1 bar. And that's how I can validate if this is working. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so right, we can see here, price broke above the swing high only by 1 bar, right, and then reversed. And we can see, right, we got no signal here. Same thing down here. Price breaks the swing low by 1 bar, and there's no, right, there's no crossover signal there. So there, actually, just that alone actually did it. I thought we might need an AND node to combine these 2, but we do not. Yeah, just the look back node. So the look back node, right, we're looking back with a period of 2, and then the mode is a minimum. So in other words, just think of it as like we need 2 minimum. Basically what it's saying is, so this is saying not 2 minimum bars, but it's saying that we need 2 signals, right? So if we look at the crossover solver here, right, sure, we get one, you know, we get 1 signal here from the 1 bar that crossed over. And then we only get 1 signal here, right? Since we only got 1 signal from the crossover, right, it didn't show up past the look back node, right? Because remember, the look back node needs a minimum of 2. So it needs a minimum of 2 signals here, right? So here, if we look at the look back node, bingo, right? That now the crossover signal is getting through. So, right? So in other words, the look back node is blocking or kind of preventing the single crossover signal here and the single crossover signal here. And then we can see it works here and it works here whenever there's 2 bars, right? So, okay, so there's that part for us. And so now we need to extend this signal forward a few bars, right, to wait for that pullback. Yeah, we need to extend that forward to wait for that pullback. So let's see, I'm going to use I'll use a signal extender. Plop it in there. So now we kind of need to, you know, guesstimate how many bars forward do we need to extend, right, our 2-bar crossover, right? So we're taking our 2-bar crossover here and we're extending it forward so that we can, right, get the rest of, you know, wait for price to do its little pullback and then reverse. And, right, remember I marked this reversal bar, so that's where we're expecting the short signal, but there's no short output there. So that tells me that the signal extender isn't extending long enough. It's not extending far enough. So let's just increase that by 2 bars, 2 extra bars there. So we'll increase it to 7 there. So there we go. So we need to see a short signal right on the reversal bar where we expect to see the signal. And let's kind of scroll back here. And I should mark on here. There we go. So, wrong marker. There we go. We want the green arrow. There we go. So that's where we want to see the long signal for that. And let me go back here. There we go. That is where we want to see the long signal for that. There we go. Okay. All right, let's see here. So now, that basically that is rule number 1. So we have rule number 1 done. And again, we'll have to, so this little comment here, we'll go back to this and implement a maximum number of bars if we need to. So, that's just, kind of something to be mindful of. So, but we're going to ignore it for now. All right, yeah, so now we can work on rule number 2, right, which is waiting for price to come within, this zone here. So if we think, so let me draw some lines here to kind of estimate where we need to be here. So something like that, basically, right? So price needs to come back to at least, right, this lower white line value, right? So the lower line here is, approximately 1 bar. Let's zoom this out a little bit, right? So this white line is approximating 1 bar below the swing line, and then the upper white line is approximating 2 bars above it. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about this. No more than 2 bars, basically past the swing point. So I'm kind of thinking of this side here. Right, so this is going to be broken into two pieces of logic here. So, right, we're going to have one solver determining, whether price, price pulled back to within this zone, right? I guess you could say the zone in front of the swing line, right? The zone in front of the swing line, and then we're going to need another solver to do the checking, right? The logic to detect whether price, breaks to the backside of the swing line, right? To the other side of the swing line, and make sure that it's only 2 bars, no more than 2 bars. All right. So, anyways, let's deal with the logic here for price coming within. So we can simply do a comparison solver. All right. So we're essentially checking distances. So when price is coming, within, so when price is coming, within that 1 Renko bar, that's going to be a distance measurement. When price breaks past it, that we can just count the number of bars again, right? So this would be a 1 bar crossover, and then we could check for a 2 bar crossover, and if there's 3, then that would invalidate things, right? So we'll get back to that. So let's just stay on this side here. So we'll just measure this distance here. And we're not actually measuring distances, but we're going to do a comparison to make sure that price comes within that swing line, that swing line. So let's connect that up. And there we go. All right. Right. So we can use this difference, these amounts here, to kind of measure this distance here, right? This offset. So all right. So input A, that will be price, and then input B that will be our swing indicator again. So let's plug in our swings, highs, lows indicator. And again, don't forget to change the settings here to match, to match the indicator settings on the chart. All right, so now we need to figure out what, what swing, what plots I meant to say are we going to use here. So again, we're going to use the same plots, right? So for a short signal, right, we're using the widest bottoms, right? So that's the red line here. And then the widest tops, those are the green lines for the swing highs. And we're using those to generate a long signal. So there's that. And next, let's see. The Renko bricks rarely get used, ever, as an offset. And yeah, I think we can actually, no. Yeah, the Renko brick setting actually doesn't synchronize with Renko bricks on the chart. So yeah, that's actually not going to be useful to us. So we'll just leave it in ticks. Yeah, we're just going to leave this in ticks here. So what we need to do is figure out, what is the brick size of our Renko bricks here. And let's see. I didn't actually put it in here, but if we open up, right, the data series, the brick size here is 20. So each of these Renko bars is 20 ticks long, right? So, the brick size is 20, but more importantly, the new trending bar is also set to 20, right? So from closing price to closing price, we have 20 ticks between each closing price of the bar. Right, so that is basically the length of these bars is 20 ticks, the new trending bar size. So we'll set our difference amounts to 20 ticks. There we go, so 20 and 20. And next, we're going to adjust all the outputs here. So I'm actually turning all the outputs off for now. And what we want to use is we're using the A equals B within. Yeah, a little note here. Sometimes on some machines it'll say this value, it says 0 ticks. So on this machine it doesn't update. So on most machines it will update to match whatever the amounts are that you put, right, that you put in here. So if this doesn't update for you, simply you can just click off and then click back on, and then that forces the interface to update. So now we can see it says A equals B within 20 ticks. So that's what we want, right? So this, basically this distance, is, this distance, the distance that we're looking for is this 20 tick, distance here. So we're looking for A, so A is the closing price of the bar to be within 20 ticks of B, and B is our swing line here. So we're going to use this output here. All right, so that tells us if we get, if price gets within that range there. And let's see if I have some examples. Some examples back here. And yeah, here we go, perfect. So, right, so we get our crossover here, price moves up and then does its pullback, right? And on the pullback, right, it doesn't cross the swing line, but it does get within, right? It does get within that 20 tick brick size there. Right? So I guess if I wanted to visualize this, I think it's going to be something like that. Yeah. There. All right, so we have that. And so that's kind of like the first part of rule number 2. So that's the within, 1 Renko brick. And now we need to make sure that the Renko bars do not go more than two bars, basically past the swing point, right? So no more, right? So we want to make sure that, these Renko bars don't go past this 2-bar distance limit. And actually it's actually 2 bars. Actually, sorry, it's not really a distance, but it's actually 2 bars. So it's actually 2 bars there. So let's see here. Yeah, so I'm gonna basically recreate this same setup here. So I'm going to write a crossover solver again with a look back node, and to make sure that we don't get we don't get basically 3 bars going past. So let's see if I can look back here. Yeah, right, great. Actually, here's a great example. So we'll mark this as a failure, right? So we have 1 bar, right? So basically, right, we got price, crossing below the swing low. It does its little pullback, but it pulls back 1 bar, 2 bar, and then 3 bars. So basically on this 3rd bar, here, let's pull that over like that, right? So on this 3rd bar, this disqualifies this pullback. Right, so this 3rd bar disqualifies it. So because that is more than 2 bars, but we want no more. So that bar disqualifies it. So I need a way to detect this 3rd bar past, breaking past the swing low there, and generate a signal on this 3rd bar here. So I'll just mark it again. So we need to generate a signal. And I can use this signal to basically disqualify the whole setup. And so to do that, I'm going to use the same logic I did back here, right, with a crossover and a look back. So let's grab a crossover, connect that in. And I should give this a slightly different name here. There we go. All right, so I'm looking for basically price, right, to do a 3-bar crossover of the swing line, right? All right, so input A, that's going to be the price, right? Input type is going to be price again. Input B, that's going to be our swing indicator. So again, let's go back to the Shark Indicators folder, select the swing highs and lows, adjust our settings here, adjust the properties, and let's see here, and select our plots again, like so. Now, if we look here, right, we're getting a crossover when price crosses down, but we want to crossover when price crosses up. So we need to adjust the outputs here. So instead of using crosses in direction, we're going to turn that off. We want to use crosses against direction. Right? So basically, we're using the crossover solver to look for a crossover in the opposite direction, right? So now price is crossing up, but we're getting a short signal as if it was a cross down, right? So there we go. So that's how we're able to switch over to look to finding this crossing up, as opposed to, the typical default of looking for something to cross it down and get a short signal, right? Get a short signal from crossing down. So. All right, so there's that, and let's adjust our look back period to 3. There we go. So there we go. So we got 1, 2, 3 signals, right? And if we go back here, right? Yeah, back here where we're looking, right? Price only crossed over one bar, and so we only got one signal here, right? We only got one signal bar from the crossover, so we didn't get three, right? So when we get three, we want to know, right? We want to count that third one, and so we can now grab our look back node. Let's connect that in. And again, we'll set our displacement to 0. Set our look back period to 3. And then we want a minimum. Right? And there is our signal telling us, oh, we had a failed crossover. Right? Yeah. So, let's see here. And yeah, I like to name these look back nodes here so I know what they're doing. So this is looking for a 3-bar minimum, and this one back here, right? This one back here is looking for a 2-bar minimum. There we go. And just for good measure, I'm also going to include, for a reset. So basically, these guys here, right? This signal is going to be used as a reset to, to basically fail to invalidate the setup, right? Invalidate it. So hopefully, I'll be able to find somewhere on the chart something like that. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. Here we have price crossing above the swing high, and then we get one bar on the pullback, 2 bar on the pullback, and our 3rd bar on the pullback, and then price reverses again. So yeah, so I can use this 3rd bar signal here to kind of invalidate the reversal here. All right, so yeah, I'm just noticing here. I'm wondering why we're getting a signal here. Let's take a look, see what's going on here. Yeah, I'm getting some crossover signals here. Let me make sure my indicator settings are correct. Oh, right. Yeah, something to be mindful of. Interesting. I don't think this is not going to affect anything, but yeah, the reason why we have this crossover signal here is because price dropped down here. So you got to be mindful of your plot style. So if our plot style was set to line, we would see a line, drawing along, and then the line would draw down and like that. So yeah, price actually did cross our swing line, right? Because our swing line dropped down, or I should say, maybe looking at it this way, the swing line crossed price because it dropped down below price. Yeah, so we do actually technically do have a crossover there, right? As the swing line drops down, that generated a crossover. So okay, that's why we have those signals over there, but that's okay. Those aren't going to affect anything. So, all right. So let's see. Getting back to here. All right. So let's see. Let's go back to this solver here, right? That's detecting price getting within, right, coming within this, 20 ticks of the swing line here. So we now need to we can take this signal and extend it forward an extra bar. Actually, I think we need to extend it forward 2 bars. Yeah, in case we get, right, a 2nd bar crossing above. right? So right here we have one bar, right, that crossed our swing line during the pullback, but we might also get 2 bars, and then the reversal bar. So we'll need to take this, and yeah, we'll take this and use another signal extender. And we'll extend it by three bars. Actually, no, I think we only need to extend 2 bars. There, yeah, I think 2 bars will do it. So let's see here. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have a good visual to kind of explain the signal extender here. Let's see if I can find something. Yeah, there's not going to be a good visual to help explain this, but so I'll just have to explain it. So what we've done is right, we've taken. Let's see here. No, I do have one. Yeah, let me go back here. We did have a setup here. Perfect. There we go. This is what I want. Right. So we want this setup here where price pulls back, but it doesn't cross our swing line, right? It just pulls back to the swing line, but doesn't cross it. So what we want to do, right, is take this signal and extend it forward a bar. Actually, no, that's not a good example. So that's part of one. And yeah, that right there that will become another setup there. That'll become another signal. Yeah, I'm not seeing. So what I'm looking for is so we get the crossover, the pull. Let's see. No, that was not a setup. Yeah. So we have the crossover, and then we get a pullback, and I'm trying to find a 2-bar pullback. Yeah, I was trying to find a 2-bar pullback to help illustrate this, but I'm not finding one here. So I'm going to add a few more days of data on here, see if I could find at least a 2-bar pullback. So it does really help to find all the places on your chart where your signals should be, right? So that way you can test all the various scenarios that the market can throw at your system, right? Here we go. I found one. All right. So let's mark this here. There. All right. So we have our initial crossover bar, and then we get a 2-bar pullback, right, across the other side of the swing line. So that is still valid right there. And then we want the signal on the reversal bar there. Yeah, so there's our 2-bar pullback here. And so let's get BloodHound back open. And right, so what I wanted to point out here, what I wanted you guys to see visually is right, these 2 bars, right, we have a signal on these 2 bars, or an output on these 2 bars, because the closing price, right, is within. Here, let's take a look at this solver here. So remember, we're using for this solver here, we're detecting when price is within 20 ticks right? When A equals B within 20 ticks of our swing line here. So this closing price is within 20 ticks, and this closing price is within 20 ticks. But when we get to the second bar, right? When we get to that, our second bar of the pullback here, right? This close is going to be outside that 20 tick distance. So we need to take, basically the signals from these two bars, from these closing prices, which are within our 20 tick distance here. And here, I guess just to help visualize it. There. So just to kind of give us a visual reference, right? So this is approximately 20 ticks offset from our swing line here, right? From the red line. So we can see the second bar, right? If we do get if there is a 2-bar pullback, right? That close is always going to be outside, right? Outside this 20 tick, pullback distance. So we need to take this signal and extend it forward by 1, by 2, so that we can at least get this detection. We can get this detection extended forward to our signal bar, right? To our reversal signal bar there. And so here we go. Here's our signal extender. And yeah, there we go. Let's pull that back. Yeah, so I can see that we have a short output on the signal bar. Let's see here. So now let's grab an AND node and start combining, right, all these conditions together. So connect those two up like so. That is some of it, right? So what we're looking for here, I'll shrink this up. Yeah, so in some cases, right, we're just going to have continuous output during the whole process here. But sometimes we may not. So if we look at, this scenario over here, right, we had price crossing, price crossed our swing high by at least 2 bars, right? We got 1, 2 bars. And then we get the pullback. And so this bar here, let's mark it, right? That pulls back within that one brick size, and then reverses up. And so we're looking for the signal right there. So there's one. And I guess I'll mark it with a circle there. There we go. So as we scan back, we want to make sure that there's an output on our signal bar, right? So there you go. So remember, the arrows are marking the signal bars. And so we have an output there. So we know that this is going to work. And let's see here. Oh, yep. There. All right, so we had price crossing below the swing low for at least 2 bars. And then we get a 2-bar pullback, and then a reversal bar. And so that's going to be our signal. Right. So we still have, a couple more steps to do, right? Because as we can see, our signals are going past the signal bar there, right? So, right, we only want to see a single discrete signal on the signal bar here. But what I'm doing is I'm kind of scanning through to make sure that there's going to be an output on this reversal bar. Yeah. So here, this is actually a failed scenario right here. So we had 1, 2, and then our 3rd bar, right, created the failed setup there. Yeah, so it's good to mark failed setups as well, so that when you're going back and testing your system, make sure it's working. Yeah, having these failed areas is good to identify as well. So There you go, another failed setup. There you go, there's a successful one, and we have a short output on the signal bar. Okay, so good. Everything looks good so far. So the final step, well, let me take a step back here, right? So looking at rule 2, right? So price pulls back within one Renko bar. That is what this is doing here. That's what this logic is doing, is that it makes sure that price at least does its minimum amount of a pullback, right? So the minimum pullback is to within one Renko bar of the swing line, right? And then we want to make sure that there's no more than 2 Renko bars, going, that the pullback is no more than 2 Renko bars on the other side of the swing line. And so that is what this will detect for us. And we still need to hook this in. Well, actually, let's just go ahead and hook that in now. That way we can complete rule number 2. So to hook this in, let's see, I'm going to adjust things around a little bit. There. So what I'm going to do is use this. Let's see here. So remember, this is our reset signal. This is our reset signal, which is detecting if there is more, if there's 3 bars or more, right? So if we have more than 2 Renko bars, so if we have 3 Renko bars, that is what this logic over here is detecting. And let's take a scroll back. Yeah, I mean, this was not a proper. Actually, let's see. Yeah, actually, this could have been a proper setup. So we had 1 bar. So we had, the crossover of the swing high, and then we had a pullback, 2 pullbacks. But when we got to the 3rd pullback here, let's mark this right. So that 3rd pullback there, basically, right, that this 3rd bar pullback here kind of invalidated the whole setup process, right? And there's our signal on the 3rd bar pullback. And yeah, here we go. Here's a one that looks a little better, looks a little prettier, right? Price crosses the swing low, does a pullback, and then on the 3rd pullback bar, right, there's our signal to kind of cancel the whole event, right? So what I'm going to do is connect this into the resets of our signal extenders, like so. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the signal extenders, and that will effectively kill the signals going into the AND node, right? So let's see here. Let's take a look. Yeah, and see, so I didn't even have to do anything with the resets. I didn't have to adjust any of the settings. So the default setting here of reset signal is set to true, and that canceled the signal right there, right? So we can see we have an output. So while the whole setup process is valid, we have an output. But when we get to our 3rd bar here, right, that invalidates the setup process, and the outputs turn off. So that would cancel any signal on this reversal bar. All right, so again, if I disconnect this, all right, so this actually didn't need a reset. Let's scan back here and find one that does. Yeah, here we go. So here is a setup that does need a reset here, right? So there's our crossover that kind of starts the process. We get a 2 bars. Everything's good so far. And then we get a 1 bar pullback, 2 bar pullback, and then the 3rd bar needs to basically cancel or turn off the outputs here, right? So there. So let's connect our reset signals back in like so. There. So now that we have, now we actually have rule 2 completed here. So we got, right, the second half of rule 2 here, making sure that there are no more than 2 bars on that pullback. So now we can finish this off by generating the signal on the next Renko bar, right? Basically crossing above or crossing below the swing high. So basically that's the reversal bar. So let's just grab a inflection, right? Grab an inflection solver. And so this is basically just looking for price reversals or price inflection. So we're going to set the input type to price. There we go. There we go. Let's scroll back here. Well, there we go. Right, so there is price reversing for us, and there's a signal right there, right on the signal bar. So we now just need to tie all of this, together. Let's see. Yeah, that. Just connect it in like that. Yeah, there we go. All right. Almost there. Let's just check everything now. Yeah, no setups there. Yeah, we almost had something here, but our swing low, yep, our swing low switched on us. So we didn't actually get, a setup there. Okay. Yeah, interesting. So we actually had a bunch of erroneous signals here. So we have the initial crossover, and we got at least 2 bars, right? 2 bars on the other side of the swing low. We had a pullback, just one pullback, and then that reversal bar. So there we go. So that's the signal we want, and we want to get rid of those. All right, so let's figure out how to clear out those other 2 signals there. Now, the simplest thing that you might think to yourself is, well, let's take our first signal and feed it back in to reset the signal extenders, right? And that way it'll cancel that. But you can't create loopbacks, right? If you create a loopback, you could create a infinite loopback situation. So loopbacks are not allowed within the system here. So it literally won't allow you to make that connection to create a loopback. So yeah, I can't really think of any reset way. I was trying to kind of come up with some logic here that I could use. Some logic here that could detect. Looking for some kind of condition here that I could detect with some logic. Just trying to think of a condition here that I could build, that I could then feed into the, signal extenders into the resets here. Yeah, I'm not really thinking of anything here, so I'm just going to take care of this. I'm going to take care of this the easy way, which is just using the signal blocker. Yeah. Signal blocker is the easy way to take care of, extra unwanted signals here. Yeah. So just using the signal blocker with the default, of blocking for 5 bars is all I needed. So, yeah, that's all I needed, because the way I can determine how many bars I need to block for, right? So we're looking at the signal blocker here. And so we need to, we need to specify how many bars do we need to block signals for. So what we can do is if we look at our signal extenders, and look at our signal extenders and go, okay, well, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so we actually have signals 8 bars, 8 bars past. So I probably should increase the signal blocker to 8 bars there. Right. So that's one of them, and let's take a look at the other signal extender. And that's a bar less here. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So starting, so I'm doing is I'm starting after the signal bar, right? So starting on the first bar after the signal bar is where I'm starting my counting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that was only 6. Whereas this other signal extender above it was extending for 8 bars. Yeah. Actually, let's see. 1, 2. Yeah, 8 bars. So I'm taking our signal extender and I'm blocking it for 8 bars. And that should take care of it. Adjust all that. All right, so let's continue looking back through the chart here and making sure everything looks good. All right, there's our signal there. And good, no signal where the triangles are at. There we go, a signal on our arrow. No signals with the triangles. All right, signal, signal. And oh, see, look at that. BloodHound actually identified something that I misinterpreted. So there you go. That just goes to show, BloodHound is far better at finding these things than people are, right? So actually, that was that was actually the first signal there, right? So that actually is our first qualifying pullback bar. So this bar does pull back within 1 brick of our swing low, and then we get the reversal bar. So perfect. That was the proper signal. So I had marked it back here, and actually that was a mistake. So okay, there we go. Another signal on the green arrow. And yeah, basically too much of a pullback there, so nothing there. Here let's see. Yeah, price crossed down and then and then cross back again. We have our pullback and then bingo, signal bar. All right, signal. And oh yeah, another one. Well, yeah, I actually had that one circled, so great. And yep, another one. And another one. Yep, that one looks good. Let's see. This one failed because we only got 1 bar crossing the swing low. So remember, this needs 2 bars on the initial cross. Yeah, the initial crossing requires 2 bars. So that failed. All right, there we go. So that was that. And so actually I didn't need the bar direction. So I will just delete that. And then I'm also going to go to my solvers tab. So you guys should keep, your list of solvers cleaned up here. Because just remember, every solver requires CPU resources. It's best just to remove anything that's unwanted. And so there's that bar direction solver, so I can hit delete. There we go. Get rid of it.